Have you ever tried to map out a business process only to end up with a diagram that, well, nobody really gets? Or even worse, nobody uses? Today, we're going to crack open Business Process Model and Notation, or BPMN, and look at a simple, super powerful method that's going to change how you think about process mapping for good.
Okay, so let's start with a problem that I'm pretty sure everyone has run into. It all begins when you're trying to figure out a process, and you're talking to an expert who knows it inside and out. But, that's often where the trouble starts.
I bet you've heard something exactly like this, right? And look, it's not a bad start. It gives you the happy path, the way things are supposed to go and everything is perfect. But we all know the real world is messy. It's filled with exceptions and all sorts of detours from that perfect path.
Right. What if typically just doesn't cut it? I mean, what happens when it doesn't go to Y? What about all those exceptions? A real process model can't just be a story about one perfect scenario. It has to be a complete map of all the important paths from the very beginning to the very end. So it's pretty clear we need a better way to do this.
And that is where a structured approach comes in and changes the game. It's all about translating those kind of vague, typical stories into a precise visual language that everyone can actually agree on. We're talking everyone from the execs making big decisions down to the people on the front lines doing the work every single day.
Now, what's really key here is thinking of BPMN as a language. It's not just a bunch of pretty shapes on a page, it's a formal way of communicating. Think of it like this. A casual sketch might get you to the right neighborhood, but a detailed map gets you to the right front door. BPMN gives you that precision you need to navigate a real complex process.
This whole method and style philosophy isn't about making BPMN harder. It's about making it easier. It all comes down to these three core ideas. For now, we're going to focus on the first two, starting with that big picture view and using a really simple set of tools. This is going to help you build models that are not only powerful, but also practical and easy for anyone to read.
Okay, let's tackle a big myth right now. You might hear people say, oh, BPMN is way too hard for business folks. That is just not true. This method kicks things off with a small set of shapes called the Level 1 palette. And honestly, they're pretty much the symbols you already know from basic flowcharts. This makes it so easy to get started without feeling totally overwhelmed.
So, now that we've established you don't need a PhD in diagramming to get going, let's dive into the number one most important rule of this method: always model from the top down. You have to resist that temptation to just jump straight into all the messy details from the start.
So what does that actually look like? Well, first, you just agree on the scope. Where does this process start and where does it end? Simple. Then, you list out the major activities. Ideally, you want 10 or fewer. The whole goal is to create one complete end-to-end view of the process that fits on a single page. This gives everyone that crucial big picture before you get lost in the weeds.
So you're probably asking, how in the world do you fit a complex process on just one page? Well, the secret weapon here is the sub-process. See that little plus sign in the box? Think of that activity like a folder on your computer. It neatly tucks away its own detailed diagram inside. You can collapse it to see the high-level flow or expand it to drill down into the nitty-gritty details.
And this, right here, is the magic of it. Instead of having a bunch of separate, disconnected diagrams that you have to try and keep in sync, you have one single layered model. It's one source of truth. That means when something changes, you change it in one place, and the whole thing stays consistent and reliable. It's a game changer.
All right, now let's get into what I think is one of the most powerful things about BPMN, something that your basic flowchart just can't handle. And that's modeling how your process actually interacts with the outside world. This is where things get really cool.
The tool we use for this is called a black box pool. It's basically just a container, you'll hear it called a swim lane, that represents someone on the outside, like your customer or a supplier. And we call it a black box because, frankly, we don't know what happens inside their process, and we don't need to. All we care about is how we communicate with them.
And to show that communication, we use a special kind of line. See, inside our own process, we use a solid line, the sequence flow, to show the order of activities. This happens, then that happens. But when we talk to the outside world, like a customer sending us an order, we use a dashed line. That's a message flow. It's a super simple visual rule, but it tells a really powerful story.
And you know what's cool? This whole idea of separating your process from the customer isn't even new. It actually goes way back to diagrams from the 1980s, which had this thing called the line of vision. It was a literal line on the page that forced people to see exactly how their process was interacting with the customer. much like that black box pool does for us today. It makes the invisible visible.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. Why go through the trouble of learning this method? What's the real, honest-to-goodness payoff for your business when you actually map processes this way?
The benefits are crystal clear, and they have a real impact. You get that single-page view, which means you can finally see the whole picture and spot problems. You have one reliable model, which cuts down on all the confusion from having conflicting diagrams. You make those critical customer interactions visible, which is huge for improving their experience. And ultimately, it provides this traceable map that gets everyone from every department on the exact same page.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Take a look at your own process maps, or even just the work you do every day. What are those crucial messages from customers, partners, or other systems that you're just not seeing? Because the bottom line is, what's invisible can't be measured, it can't be managed, and it definitely can't be improved.